This is the fifth and final piece of Alien Versus here on Creative Briefs. But the series isn't ending here. We'll be continuing the journey in full on the Alien Versus channel. And what better way to close this chapter out than with the man who defined the alien itself? No, not Ridley Scott. You see, when people talk about Alien, odds are they're talking about the Xenomorph. But that particular monster wasn't born in Hollywood. It came from Switzerland and the mind of a surrealist artist named Hans Rudy Giger. Ridley Scott first discovered Giger's paintings in a book called Necronomicon. Inside were visions of flesh fused with machinery, nightmares rendered in airbrush. And Scott later said he knew instantly this wasn't just a style, it was a destiny. He called Giger a true original. So when the Alien production needed a monster, they didn't just hire an artist, they summoned one. Let's get into it. From the very start, Giger's fingerprints were all over this production. The egg, the facehugger, the chestburster, the adult alien, each stage of the creature's life cycle came directly from his imagination. Part bone, part piston, part sex organ. And here's where it gets really good. Dan O'Bannon, the screenwriter, sent Giger a letter titled List of Elements to be Designed. It was, essentially, the to-do list of nightmares. It asked for spore pods, leathery, egg-shaped objects about 1 meter tall with a lid that pops off when a victim approaches. It asked for the alien, first phase, small, leaping onto a victim's face. The alien, second phase, implanting eggs in the stomach. And finally, the alien, third phase, a mature creature described only as, quote, a terrific abomination. At the end, O'Bannon gave Giger the green light to be Giger, with, quote, feel free to create your own design. But what came back stunned the production. His sketches weren't just monsters. They were obscene. The egg looked vaginal. The facehugger looked like a fusion of spider, crab, and phallus. True story. Customs at LAX reportedly flagged his transparencies of the facehugger because they looked so disturbing. O'Bannon said, quote, they came through customs who didn't understand what they were and were alarmed, and we had to personally go down to LAX and pick these things up. Anyway, the studio hated it. Executives said the designs were too grotesque, too sexual, too European. They wanted something toned down. But Ridley Scott fought back. He told them the very thing that made Giger's designs uncomfortable were the things that would make Alien unforgettable. You see, Scott had a philosophy. The most important thing in a film of this type is not what you see, but the effect of what you think you saw. He knew suggestion was so much more powerful than exposure, and Giger's design suggested everything you didn't want to imagine. Critic Roger Ebert wrote that Alien kept the creature terrifying by constantly evolving its form. You never got used to it. That was Giger's genius here, a monster with no stable identity, mutating from birth to death. The payoff was historic. Alien didn't just scare people, it burned Giger's vision into their brains. But here's the twist. Giger wasn't hired to make a monster. He had already made it. Alien wasn't the origin of his aesthetic. It merely borrowed and translated it. Years before Hollywood came calling, Giger had been painting what he called biomechanics. Paintings like Birth Machine and Landscape XX showed fertility and death as one. Pistons for penises, wombs as weapons, babies loaded like bullets in a revolver. For Giger, sex and death weren't opposites. They were the same thing. And that's why his monsters unsettle us. They look like machines reproducing, bodies decaying, technology mating with biology. And his world didn't end with Alien. He went on to design album covers for Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Debbie Harry. He created furniture that looked like it belonged in your nightmares. He built the Giger bars in Switzerland, where you could drink inside one of his paintings. And in Gruyere, he founded the Giger Museum, a cathedral to his dark imagination. His influence spread everywhere. Goth aesthetics, tattoo culture. This is one of my personal favorites, a mic stand for Korn frontman Jonathan Davis. Video games definitely owe him a debt of gratitude, and his work echoes in every slimy biomechanical nightmare ever since. As one critic put it, Giger didn't just design monsters. He created, quote, massive biomechanical dreamscapes, entire worlds of apocalypse. So let's put it plainly. Alien needed Giger, but Giger didn't need Alien. The Xenomorph was already alive in his paintings, crawling through his canvases long before Hollywood called. The film didn't necessarily make him famous. It simply gave his nightmares a screen. So, that closes out Alien Versus here on Creative Briefs. But like I said, the series isn't over. This was just the prologue. From here on, the journey continues in full on the Alien Versus channel. We'll keep diving into design decisions that made this franchise legendary over there. I've got a new design history deep dive coming up in just a few days. In the meantime, maybe go out and create something amazing. I'll be here when you get back. Oh, before you go, maybe check out this video over here. All right, I'll see ya.
This is Ripley, last survivor of the Nostromo. Signing off.